in life, if we can change one person's life or help change one person's life, that's remarkable.
What's going on? You're listening to episode 66 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is about carving out time to build something for yourself and about being open to seeing things from a different perspective. I want to share what is and isn't working for me, along with sharing my guest point of view. Another quick announcement. I've mentioned it before, but the Facebook group community is growing, and it's been awesome engaging with all of you and seeing everyone's participation. If you're looking for a place to share your work, get feedback, build relationships, and have access to me to ask questions, then join the Facebook group team at the Perspective-Collective. Us together as a community, we are the collective. No matter what type of content creator you are or where you're at on your creative path, we would love to have you. And another quick announcement, this Friday, I will be speaking at AIGA Rally Thrive Conference, and I'm stoked to drop this new talk I've been working on. Let's just say there's a heavy dose of pizza involved, but what else would you expect? I'm looking forward to checking out North Carolina for the first time and hanging with friends old and new, and I hope to see you there. And speaking of this conference, my guest today is actually on that AIGA Rally board, and he's helped set up this conference. That is Lenny Terenzi of Hey Monkey, and he stops through today to dish out a hefty dose of entertainment and value. Lenny is an expert at branding, illustration, screen printing, teaching workshops, speaking, organizing events, and whatever else you can think of, he's probably the shit at it. He's been a huge role model to me and has zero issues opening up and being transparent in order to help someone like you avoid the mistakes he's made. In this episode, we chat about battling through creative block, finding yourself in community, being vulnerable and getting out of your comfort zone, building your own thriving creative business, and so much more. You can find the show notes to this episode at perspective-collective.com/66. If you think someone can find value in this episode, please give it a share on social media. You guys have been so awesome in sharing on Twitter and especially Instagram lately and in your stories, man. It is so awesome, so humbling. It's because of you that this show keeps on growing, and I have mad love for you for it. Finally, if you catch some inspiration from the show, create some artwork and tag me on Instagram at Perspective Podcast. I'll be sure to give it a share there and credit you, and that's where I post each week's episode artwork along with my guest artwork. Let's get into the show. Yo, today on the show, I have Lenny Terenzi of Hey Monkey Design. He was so graciously kind to fit us into the schedule. So Lenny, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, we only talked about doing this for the last how long?
Since last February, I think. But let's do a little brief Wikipedia page summary about yourself and why my audience should care about you.
Well, I'm not going to tell them why they should care about me.
You're on the show. That says enough.
Exactly. I've been given the Scotty mark of approval, so there you go. Need say no more. Golly, I am, why should people listen to me? They shouldn't. I'm a fraud. Now, man, I just do a little bit of it all, right? I'm almost 45 years old, designer, illustrator, screen printer, speaker, community guy, educator, conference organizer, AIGA Rally board member, ...
Musician too in the past, right?
Yeah, musician. Trying to do a little bit more of that this year just to relax. That's like the one damn thing I could actually do that I don't try to make money at, that I don't do. So yeah, we'll throw that in too.
And you used to play on the big stages, right? Before the art days.
Yep, touring band, toured the country, whole shebang.
So my introduction to you would have been Creative South. This seems to be a reoccurring pattern is like, I met this person at Creative South, now they're at the show. So I've been plugging Creative South. Get your asses there. This is where like you meet these kind of people like Lenny. But I was blown away by your story, the Just Create talk that you gave. I think that pretty much cemented you as like a legend within the conference circle of things. I would love to hear a little bit more about your backstory and, you know, just where the Just Create talk even came from, and why that's been so big in your career.
Absolutely. That talk it's sort of like that band that releases the first album that's just everybody's insane over because they had their whole life to write the first record. You know what I mean? Like, it's always that first record where like usually are like the greatest songs because they've been written and road tested forever, man. And that's what that talk was. I mean, it literally was my entire life, and how it related to our industry and how I handled certain things in my life, up to that point in time. And, I've retired that talk completely.
Oh, well, it's still on your website. That's why I talked about it.
I should say I've retitled it.
Retitled it. Okay.
Yeah, sort of retitled. But for that specific talk, it was born out of Mike Jones from Creative South asking me to be a speaker in 2015, back in 2013, right? So I had known for 2 years that I was going to be on the docket. So it was one of those things where I had all that time to just sit and say, what's my story? And, why are people even going to want to listen to me? Because we always at Creative South have sort of a couple slots that are the new people, maybe people that not a lot of people have heard about, not a lot of people have known, but those stories are there, right?
I think that would have been me.
Yeah, that absolutely was you. And that was me in 2015. So eventually I was like, you know what? I don't really give a shit why I think they're going to want to listen to me. I'm just going to tell my story, because by that point I was 40 some years old. And I was like, if I could stop a 20-year-old from making some of the mistakes I did and maybe getting them on a more positive path early, then success. One person, right? That's sort of my marker for any talk. If I can reach one person, then awesome, right? I mean, in life, if we can change one person's life or help change one person's life, that's remarkable.
Yeah, that's a win.
It is a total win. So that was sort of my goal. And so I just, I kind of wrote it with that in mind of like, okay, I'm going to get up there and I'm going to take a metaphorical scalpel and slice from head to foot and just, emotionally vomit all over the stage.
Yeah, you laid it out there, man, and it really resonated with the entire 600 and 800 people in the Springer, auditorium. So
blew my mind. It was the first time I'd ever spoken as well. It was my very first speaking gig ever. If you go back and look at a video of it, you can see my right hand. I mean, I'm milkshaking it, man. I mean, I'm just like,
I know how it is. Those lights up there, dude, it'll make you shit your pants.
And, it calmed down after a minute, and then I just went 30 minutes past my time slot. But, I didn't know, like, how was this going over? Was everybody, because, right, you've been on the stage. You're going to be on the stage again. You can't see past the first row. You can barely see the first row. For all I knew, the lights were going to come on and everybody said, screw this guy, I'm going to get some coffee, right? I had no idea. So I was like, I may have only one time ever to do this, and I can't leave anything out. So I'm just going to go. And I did for an hour, 5 minutes.
Well, what I like the most is the vulnerability. Like, I don't only just share the success stories on the show, just the highlight reel. I bring people on to share the shitty times that they've been through in order to get to where they are today. And that's what really resonated with me, because it wasn't an easy road to where you are today, running your own business of Hey Monkey Design. Like, what led you to starting Hey Monkey Design, and what was the road that got you there? What led me there was
stubbornness with a healthy dash of stupidity. I had the 9-to-5 job in the early 90s, worked at a fantastic company called SAS here in North Carolina, one of the world's largest privately held software companies. Phenomenal benefits. They had company culture before that was a thing. Like, it wasn't called culture, but then, they were so far ahead of the curve, it wasn't even funny. I had gotten transferred to a division that I wasn't that happy in, and they had transferred too many of us. So they came to us and said, we can either, let you go with full benefits, 6 months severance, like crazy severance package. Or, you can look for another job within the company. We're not firing you, but we're also saying you're not going to stay here in this department. I was 25. So to be offered, a severance package like that at 25 kind of got me thinking like, man, I'm not happy here. Maybe I should go out on my own, and do something on my own. My daughter had been born, Bella. We, by that point, were well sort of into the path of her special needs. My daughter's in a wheelchair, so we were kind of dealing with that. So part of that was like, well, it might be nice if I'm kind of home all the time to, doctor's appointments, take care, be able to take care of, like, have a kind of a full-time home person while still working to take care of house things as well, and parenting things. But really, I probably shouldn't have. I was too young. And I didn't really kind of know how the world worked. So I kind of stumbled through it for so many years, but just, I don't know, I was pretty good at what I did, and I'm, pretty decent people person, and I just kind of did it. I didn't have a mission yet or a guiding light yet. It was just work. It really was just work.
What kind of work was it?
It's just basic design, some logos, some websites, maybe a little bit of consulting here and there, very low level work.
If you were like me, I kind of hit a rock bottom. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it was for you too, but something got knocked in the face a couple times to actually, realize that there's something greater out there. What put you through that moment that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, so it wasn't rock bottom then, but it was my path to it for sure. I mean, I was on the drilling machine, just barreling towards the core of the planet, right? With just everything with raising a special needs child and kind of working on my own and everything that went with that, my then wife and I just grew apart. Just bad relationship, not fighting, all that, but just she didn't care, I didn't care. And it just really hit a place of sort of depression and realizing like, man, this sucks. Life kind of sucks. Work sucked. I didn't like being a designer. Like, it would blow my mind when I would see all these people like just, getting off over a typeface or whatever. And I was like, I don't feel that way at all. Like, I literally just do this because I know how to do it and I'm kind of good enough at it to do it. The only part of my life that was great was being a dad. And so, the rock bottom came when my wife said, yeah, I'm out. And I was like, oh, and that just, right. You kind of it's like opening up the door and someone's there just to sucker punch you. And that's what it was that sucker punch. And it sort of gave me the realization of, okay, I'm at the time 37 years old. I'm on my own now for the first time ever in my life at 37. And I don't really want to start over. I'm decent at what I do, but now I have to do it, right? I have to do it. I have no choice. I am now the sole supporter of me. And when my daughter's with me, the supporter of her. So it was sort of out of necessity, but it was just that mindset of like, all right, you've been given this chance now to do over life. And, we don't get those chances often, to do it over. So I said, if I turned right, I'm going to turn left now. And if I looked up now, I'm going to look down. And so that was my core decision-making process. It was a real easy decision-making process. If I didn't do it before, I'm going to do it now. And so I decided to kind of evaluate myself and say, well, what are all these people loving about design? And what is it that just gets them all excited? And what I realized was they were part of a community. They were interactive with community, right? And they, I would see them talking to friends on Twitter or doing this, or just got back from this conference or whatever. Never been to a conference in my life at that point, any conference whatsoever. And I was like, well, all right, let me kind of look around and, what's this community thing, right? I was kind of this quiet, introverted guy.
That's hard to believe, man.
Right? I know, right? And I think I still am. At its core, I think all of us who go to these conferences and are just like wide open, at our core, we still are. We still have to we enjoy that hour in the hotel room at night or in the morning to charge up. But when I'm out there for people and to be with that. But so, yeah, I just sort of said, okay, maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's people. So I went to some local AIGA Raleigh meetings. But then I also, in November 2012, hit the old Google and typed Southeastern Design Conferences drivable, because I had a fear of flying, a crippling fear of flying. So where could I go get some of this, get some of this drug, but I could drive to it. And somewhere in the search results was this conference called Creative South 2013. And ironically, it was the first year that it was called Creative South. It was the third year of the conference, the first year that they dubbed it Creative South. The speakers, it was Raji, Justin Mazel, James White, Draplin, the Hood Sisters, Mama Sauce, Sean McCabe, Mackie Saturday, Ryan Hammer, like just giants, kind of looking at them, especially from someone who hasn't been in that community, right? The tickets were $75, right? This is back in the day. It's way smaller than it is now.
That's a steal.
Yeah, it's still a steal. But, you think back then when it was a lot smaller conference. I mean, right now we get more people, in the bathroom at the hotel than we used to get at the whole conference.
Wow. Yeah, true that.
And so, with that, I bought the ticket. And I was like, wow, I'm going to go to a design conference. I was really excited. Got a friend of mine to go with me. Cause again, little feared and went, the next year. And leading up to it, I would tweet out like, has anybody heard of this thing? This sounds awesome. $75, you should go. And this guy named Mike was like, hey man, I appreciate you tweeting out about my conference. Make sure you come say hi to me when you get down here. And I'm like, cool, I'll do that. And, I made it down there in April 2013 and went to the opening party, which, by the way, was on the Houlihan's deck on the Marriott Hotel. That was the whole opening party. And I remember walking into that, looking around and seeing like there's Sean and Ryan and all these people and like, whoa, right? First time you see all these folks that you've admired, what do? You put them on a pedestal immediately. You don't know. That's what we do.
Fanboy a little bit.
And then, and then I just see this absolute mountain of a man walking around talking to everybody. And I was like, quickly deduced, that must be the cat, right? And walked up and said, hey, Mike, my name's Lenny. We've been talking on, and before I could even get it out, he's like, dude, boom, neck hug, right? So glad you made it. Thanks for coming. Didn't know Mike then. So he did what he needed to do as host, say, man, let me know if you need anything. I'm here. Have a great time. And that was it. It was the only interaction I pretty much had with him the whole conference. And then I went out through the conference. And just, throughout that whole weekend, the camaraderie of meeting, Jen and Amy, and looking at them going like, my God, these two are like monsters in the design world.
And they'll be back here this year and they're even bigger than before.
Right. Oh yeah. And have had a part in bringing them this year at Creative South. Like, we both saw them as circles and I walked right up to him. I was like, nope, sorry, you're coming back. And yes, you are. Like, I didn't really ask them. I just said, here's the contract, sign it now. But to meet them and then just like hang out and chat with them. And, to meet, Draplin and Raji and all these people and Mike and Mama Sauce who, directly influenced where I'm at right now. I mean, literally influenced, and we can get into that later. I drove away just like, this is amazing. There's no clicks here. None. I was talking to me, legends and heroes, and they're all telling me, give me a call when you get home. Let's catch up. What? And it blew my mind. And I was like, I get it. I came home immediately in love with my industry. The passion just fueled me up. And then that was it, man. From then on, it's been off to the races.
It like literally mimics my last couple years since I went to that conference for the first time, not knowing a damn soul there, just went solo from Iowa, and that like something flipped a switch. So like when you got home, where did Hey Monkey Design come from, and what is Hey Monkey Design, in case people don't know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I went there as Hey Monkey Design. So Hey Monkey Design is my studio. It's been a one-man design, illustration, branding studio, really since 2001, but I officially named it Hey Monkey in 2008. I've just never really clicked with my name as a business entity.
Same here, man.
Proud of my name, proud of my family heritage, like love my name. Lenny's a great name. Not even a name you hear much anymore. Never liked Lenny Terenzi designer, Lenny Terenzi branding, whatever that was, right?
Lenny Terenzi Studios. No, I get it, man. It just doesn't have that it factor. I get it.
Exactly. And especially, for you as someone, who's just so phenomenal with lettering, how many damn ways you're going to lock up an L and a T? It's been done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just like, I just already, as soon as I thought of my name, I had 42 logos designed and every one of them I'd seen with anybody who has an L and a T in their name. And so it just didn't, because I had this new fire, kind of everything, like it was just something that I wanted something I could brand and something that was personal to me. And since, for 2 years through the divorce and separation, when, basically my heart lived on the bottom of my shoe. So every time I walked, I just smashed the shit out of it. The only constant in my life and the only constant that really will always be in my life is my daughter. Right. And so when she was born, those were the first 2 words I ever said to her. She came out and I held her in my arms and I said, hey, monkey. And that's where the studio name came from.
That's dope.
And I was just like, so that it's named after her. Everything's about her, And yes, I've taken it and made a cute monkey character. My logo's not my daughter's face or anything, but it's just the kind of the story behind it. And to this day, that is still her name. I mean, you every morning wake up, monkey, hey monkey, via text or whatever, because we're a modern family, texting each other back and forth, and that's where it came from. And I found what was interesting. This is a kind of a little interesting story. When I went to Creative South as Hey Monkey, two things happened. First, when I first started Hey Monkey, I was at rock bottom confidence. So I hired Von Glitchka to do my logo. Right? If you're not going to do it, hire the damn best.
And not the 5-minute logo kind.
No, just a full-on creative brief. Here's some cash. Von Glitchka to do it. And I was always very clear with people that I hired him to do it. It was never like I tried to hide the fact or anything. But there was always something inside that bothered me because I would do branding for other people. And I was like, well, there was just something in there. A lot of companies get other people to do branding for them, even though they do branding for others. Sometimes it's hard to detach yourself, right, to do your own brand. And Von just crushed it, absolutely crushed it. And so two things happened at Creative South. With Von's work, that was my avatar for all my socials, right? It was a funny little monkey head, not what I have now. And so I had business cards and everything printed up, and I went there, and two things happened. Right before I went to Sean West or Sean McCabe's talk, I handed him my card. He said, "Oh, this is really good." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And I was getting ready to say, I had Von Glitchka do my logo. And he said, "Yeah, it looks a little similar to MailChimp." And he goes, "And I mean, not like you're copying it." I was like, "It just reminds me of that." And like right then and there in my head, I was like, I don't know what it was. Something literally, if it was audible, you literally would have heard that straw that broke. And I was like, he wasn't slamming me in the least, but it was just something like that combination of getting ready to tell him that somebody else did it. His first reaction was that it reminded him of another brand. I was like, this is the last time ever I hand anything to anybody that has to do with me that I didn't do. Right. It almost gave me like confidence. It was just like, F this, right? Just let's do it. So that happened. And then the next thing that happened was I was at one of the after parties, which back then was literally, let's go hang out at a bar. It's not like it is now where it's like
3 nights of different insane parties. Yeah.
And I was talking to absolutely one of my favorite designers and more importantly, people on the planet, Nick Slater. Just insane talent. Probably talking, and I see him in the bar and just, he's over there chatting. And I go up and say, "Hey, Nick, big fan chatting." And he's like, and being Nick, how awesome he is. We probably talked for like 45 minutes. And I was like, "Hey, man, I've taken up enough of your time. There's a bunch of people here who want to chat with you." Because he was actually a speaker too, I believe, that year. That was a loaded lineup that year. And handed him my business card. And when he saw the monkey face and the name, he was like, "Dude, I follow you online. I've known you for like 2 years and blah, 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 blah." And so I was like, that's for me. The next thing I did is when I got home, I was like, I'm putting my face as my avatar. Because the conversations that I might have been able to have if somebody had been like, "Oh, I recognize you from your avatar," and, versus having a conversation and giving a card and them realizing maybe they knew me, the conversation could have just taken a different course and maybe could have been a little less of me trying to brown nose and kiss ass because I thought these people were heroes. And just gotten to know a little more of a real personal conversation.
I'm a big fan of actually having a real face for an avatar, not an illustration, not someone's monogram. I'm totally there with you, man.
And I totally I'll see other avatars that are just awesomely illustrated or lettered and be like, that's rad. But for me, because my business name isn't my name, I want to make sure that my face is Hey Monkey. Hey Monkey is me. And there's no doubt now at this point, I could change my avatar to anything I want and I'm good. I've spent years crafting my brand and my voice, but it was one of the biggest things I made. So Creative South not only touched me with community, it lit a fire under my ass about branding and just, creating custom. And then it also just showed me sort of my first training wheels in social media.
Well, something I think it'd be pretty cool that you bragged about is, what you kind of have coming up for Creative South this year.
I could not be more excited. I'm going to be on the stage again speaking, but this time I'm going to be up there with my daughter. My daughter, Annabella Terenzi, 18 years old, still in high school, is going to be sharing the stage with me, and we're doing a joint talk about what it was like to raise not only a special needs child, but one with complete creative freedoms, how giving her those freedoms and creating with her and for her helped re-energize my career So there'll be a little dip back into sort of the Just Create talk, but it's going to be mostly on her, but just to give some people some foundation. Sort of our plan for her, she's going into our field. She is an amazing, not just because I'm her dad saying it, because I'm tough on her, an amazing photographer.
Dude, her makeup skills too, makeup special effects skills are on top notch.
The apple didn't fall far from the tree, man. She is so visual and just tactile. And, she actually came to me with the idea for the talk. And I said, I'll bring it to Mike. And, if he says yes, yes. And, she wanted to just talk about, I think it'd be an interesting angle for people to hear what somebody who's just getting ready to enter the field from high school is thinking about and doing and talking about. And then just with this whole special needs angle, and having that represent, is just for diversity and inclusion. To my knowledge, she will be the first speaker in a wheelchair at a graphic design conference, to my knowledge. If I may be wrong, and somebody can totally call us on that.
Well, I wonder just on that Springer stage, because there's been outside of the creative field, massive superstars that have been on that stage. So who knows? Oh,
absolutely. So I'm just so excited. And I told her, are you sure? She's like, yeah. I was like, it's 800 to 1,000 people. Just want you to know this. She was, I got this. I was like, that's my girl. And I said, and you're going to want to throw up before we go out on stage. I was like, it's just, trust me. She was like, do you? I was like, yes, still.
I have to take a shot to calm my nerves. As soon as I get off the stage of talking, I got to have a shot just to settle myself.
Bring it down. So yeah, so it's going to be her and I on there. And I'm just so excited to stand there and take a step back and let the light shine on already what is the brightest light in the universe to me,
That's awesome, dude. I'm absolutely stoked for you guys. I'll be up there front row. I'll be hassling you, but I'll cheer her on.
Let me tell you, we've got some stuff planned, man. It's going to be a great talk filled with, it's going to be great for, it's me and it's my daughter, and we're going to be talking about sort of raising a creative child and everything, but we are absolutely going to correlate it to our industry. So everybody will definitely get something out of it. It's not like the 22-year-old who's fresh out of school isn't going to get something out of it. We're going to be talking about the foundation and tenets of good design and community and what it takes and sort of correlating how I raised her to how I re-raised myself with my epiphany into my new career or old new career and things like that. So it's going to be something else. We're really taking our time and planning it out well, which means we'll probably be working on it the night before.
That's how it's supposed to be, right? Just finessing and fine tweaking. Something I know that we all deal with, whether we admit it or not. Sometimes it's harder on most of us. And something you mentioned last year, shit that you don't ever, life as a creative is never just sunshine and rainbows all the time. You're going to have those shitty times where you deal with something like comparison or creative block. And I know something you dealt with, you personally told me about this, you've talked about this and said you kind of wanted to share more about this, was that stretch you dealt with last year, and how were you able to push through creative block? Because I dealt with some really low moments that I felt creatively uninspired last year, and I had to gut it out too, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. Last year was brutal. I took a big step out of myself in late 2016 into early 2017, and decided to really say, all right, I'm gonna do this children's book illustration thing and try to kind of step out a little bit and try something new. So one of the things I did was in February 2017, I went to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Conference up in New York City. So a very niche industry conference, which was very brand new for me. I hit the mats, right? I hit the gym. I hit the creative gym. And I was just drawing and creating and painting and learning and consuming and putting out just at record hours and, stretches for me, 17, 18, 19 hours a day drawing and painting, to where my hand at the end of the day would almost be stuck sort of in like a holding a pencil position, right? But I wanted to put my best foot forward at this conference. So I did that, and I went to the conference, and I, had some great contacts, met some great people, just great illustrators, Luke Flowers,
Was it Icon?
No, this was SCBWI, a Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Conference.
Okay.
Icon was the summer before, and that kind of got me going on the journey to get to the next point. That was kind of like, okay, I think I'm going to really try this illustration thing. And then, so that was summer 2016. We're talking winter 2016 into winter 2017. So, I went to the conference and had a great time, made great contacts, community, had some great nods from some industry stuff, and came home, and that was fucking it, right? I had just blown my wad, for lack of a better term, so hard that it was done. I had just done so much, and I elevated my work so much. It was work that I was showing to peers, and they were like, dude, what in the hell? Like, I've never seen anything like this from you, right? And I just pushed it so much that I got stuck in my head that every time I drew something, it had to be that, right? It had to be that good.
You had to hit a home run every time you came out to the plate.
Every time. And I just crippled myself, right? We talk about comparison monster and the imposter syndrome. And I had it, and it was me. That's what was fucked up. I was my own comparison monster, and I was impostoring myself against me. I'll never be that good. I was saying that. I'll never be that good. I was the one who fucking did it in the first place, and I'm telling myself that I can't do it, even though I did it. That's what was so messed up. And what's really so messed up, I think about the creative mind, is, man, we can fuck ourselves up quickly and viciously. I would never say things to my daughter, and I'm brutally honest with her on critique. I would never say things to her that I've said to myself. Ever. Right? I would never say things to my wife, to you, to friends, to colleagues. As honest as I would be with you on critique, I would still never be that vicious as I am to myself, right? So that was my whole year. And I kept saying to myself, you know what, when this happens, maybe it'll break. When I get through Weapons of Mass Creation, being able to MC that and be there with you and see you speak again and all my friends, man, that'll probably give me the creative jolt I need, right? Maybe not. Well, maybe Circles, right? You and I got to hang at Circles, had a phenomenal time.
We saw each other a lot.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe that'll do it. Held a workshop, hugely successful workshop. I had 30 people in there just like, oh my God, my mind's blown. So here I am, like, getting everybody juiced up, and I'm like, that's awesome, and I'm excited for them. Then I go to the hotel room, and I'm like, what the fuck, right? I got nothing still. Then I had Reimagine and Design Week Tallahassee and Top, like, just loading up stuff for the whole year. Maybe. And nothing really worked. But what worked was the same thing that worked the first time. And that's when I gave the Just Create Talk at Creative South. In between all that, I did a Creative Mornings. I was a Creative Mornings speaker for our Creative Mornings here. It was sort of one of my little goals, right? Creative Mornings is kind of a cool, big thing. We have very active chapters. Like, I want to be a speaker for one. And the subject that I was given was compassion. And, I sat back and I was like, okay, with political climate and all the shit that's going on in this country, that was the easy path to take on the compassion, right? We need to be compassionate to each other. And we do. You could pull up 942,000 talks on TED and YouTube about that, right? So I was like, so the thing that I have lacked in the last year is being compassionate to myself. I've been horrible to myself. So I crafted an entirely new talk on self-compassion for the creative mind. And when I gave that talk, in doing it, all the research I did just started to crack the wall, right? I started to see cause and effect. And then at the end, I did the same thing, Scotty. I just opened up and I told this whole story, and I showed this amazing work that I did for that conference. And just when you get to that part of the talk, right? Because what is a talk? Here's my life. Here's generally how it got shitty, how I made it great, and here's how I did it so you can make it great.
Transformation.
I didn't have transformation yet. And I said, well, there's the point of the talk. I'm going to get up there, and I'm going to give this story. Everybody's going to be like, yes, I'm feeling it too. How do I fix it? And I put up a slide, and I was like, and you know what the slide said? I don't know. And I just looked at the audience. I was like, got no idea. Still here. Still haven't drawn a fucking thing in then 7 months. I got no idea. Do you have any ideas? Can we talk afterwards? I just completely was like, I got nothing for you.
Crowdsourced it.
Totally, right? I was like, but here's some things I'm going to try. Here's some things that from reading. And I kind of just went through the list of like just being kinder to myself and, going back to when I was a kid and not worrying about it being this lofty goal. If I needed to, I was just going to copy other people's work, not to put out there as my own, right? But as that thing that we did as kids or that we used to learn, we copy. Right? We imitate, and then it becomes our own style. So I just started talking about all that stuff. The response I got was like Creative South, people coming up to me going, oh my God, me too. Can we get together and talk and just commiserate? And again, it was that catharsis of just opening up and just bleh, all over everybody, that did it. And I gave the talk again in Tallahassee, I think. Yeah, I think I gave the talk again in Tallahassee. And no, I gave in Asheville, North Carolina in November. And same thing. Just, again, touching those points that we all feel.
I think that's one of the most powerful things and allows us to get in touch and actually make an impact on people is like we've kind of gotten over the fear of bottling up our emotions or what someone's going to think of us and, kind of share those vulnerable sides of us that we'd rather just bury with a shovel in our backyards and build a gazebo over it. I think that was American Horror Story, but I think that's what really hooks people to someone, especially in your audience, not only to get them to care about your work and your brand, but about you, the person behind your brand, is, peeling back the onion layers and kind of showing your true colors. And, I think that's why people have, I guess, flocked to you and why you've built such a big name for yourself over the last years and why I'm having you on the show. So I personally see you killing shit right now with your design, especially with Procreate. So clearly you're back to creating.
I am definitely in sort of like now I can't stop. The dam just started to break. And what I did was just took it back to simplicity. I sat down with new tools, right? You got the iPad Pro and pencil lately. And, you and I are both like, it's like, oh my God.
Shit's blowing my mind, man. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing.
I had an iPad 3 or 2, so years and years ago, and Procreate's been out for a long time and I had it. And I think the iPad actually had to catch up to Procreate. Like, I was kind of playing with it and I was like, well, this is cool, but I don't know what to do with it yet. And I kind of wasn't in that headspace of illustration yet. And so I had to grow too. So this combination of the Pro, the pencil, Procreate, and the changes and improvements it's made over the years. And then me just sitting around and looking at the tool and going, okay, today I'm going to paint a tree. That's it.
Bob Ross it.
Right? Exactly. A tree. All right. I painted a tree. Paint another tree. 14 trees later, I'm going to paint the forest, right? Because you look at my Instagram, I got like 2 sets of like 12 trees and I painted this forest. And that forest scene was like, just jumped 42 levels from the trees. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, and my wife's looking at it going, what the hell, dude? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, literally, I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's what's been so exciting for me is like, where's this coming from? How did you learn to do that? And I'm like, I'm not trying to sound egotistical or an asshole. I don't know. It's like, it's just.
I think it's dope that you're still unlocking layers within you. No matter what age, there's always like something new. Like finding Procreate and having a new tool is insanely pushing my work past this analog world that I live in on paper. Make sure you plug that one into the show notes, please, for me when I request images and stuff from you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that one would tie in nicely.
But it's been nuts. It's literally been like to the point where like I start to kind of like get like I call it the heroin withdrawal. Remember the movie Ray when he was like scratching himself and everything? Like all of a sudden it'll be like 10 o'clock at night and I haven't been able to draw yet because I've been busy and I'm like, I got to go grab the iPad or a pencil or whatever in 5 minutes, and when to know that 60 days ago, I was like, man, maybe that was just my little burst and I'm done.
And those dips are going to come, those gaps where you're getting creative block again. And you're going to have to find that new thing to snap you out of it. But all that shit you can package up and hand off to the next person like me who gets in a rut.
And that's the thing is I'm always going to talk about it and I'm always going to share about it. And I'm always going to just leave the mistakes. Yesterday on Instagram or 2 days ago on Instagram, I posted a couple of old logos I did for a client project that got killed. And I noticed the third one, like all the taglines were off centered because that's just how I exported it. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm a designer. That's the state the logos were in at the time. And there you go. Here you go. I'm done. Out. See ya.
Done, not perfect.
Exactly.
So speaking of community, just to switch things up, it's been huge for you. That was your spark. Community was my spark and, contributing to it. And now you're super involved with things like AIGA Rally.
Yep. I am on the board. I'm vice president on the board.
Sounds like you have a pretty killer team too.
AIGA Rally is just life-changing. I mean, I literally rank it up there with my marriage to Chris, birth of my daughter, creative. I mean, like literally to me, it's that important to me because it was part of that healing and that journey into community, right? So many things would never happen around here for me if it wasn't for them.
got something coming up here in February, Thrive Conference. Where did the idea of this come from, and what goes into throwing a conference like this, especially a one-day event?
Right. So last May, my friend Ashley Morgan, phenomenal designer, illustrator down in Charlotte. I've worked with her for years. She was actually my plus one at Creative South 2013. We went together. It was her first design conference. She was just as nervous as I was, and we literally, without even realizing it, didn't let much more than 6 inches come between us, because we were just like so afraid. And everybody was like, "Oh, y'all are you married? Are you together?" Mike was like, "Your girlfriend's hot," and I'm like, "What? Wait, no, she's just a good friend, and she's married, I'm married, but we were just like whoop, chained at the hip, but she's moved down to Charlotte. She used to live up this way, and just totally is crushing the Charlotte creative and community scene. And she puts on a one-day conference, I think every 6 months down there, called Fusion. And there's a kind of a design themed one and sort of a community themed one. She had me speak at the design themed one last May. I thought it was awesome. I was like, man, one day, 6 hours, in, out, no tons of this to worry about, and I was just like, this is cool. I want to do something like this at home. And so when we kind of started looking at our programming for the Raleigh area, I was like, let me just throw this out here, and just kind of tossed out the whole idea, made a presentation on it, and everybody's like, let's do it. And so we're going to do sort of our version of Fusion is Thrive, because AIGA Raleigh, we have a mission statement. AIGA Raleigh is here to create a place where design thrives for everyone. And so I said, let's just go with Thrive. Is it original? No, there's like 14 conferences called Thrive, but we have it tied into our, sort of our mission statement. And it's just a conference that is meant to hopefully spark ideas, right? And conversations, and maybe change. Could be personal, could be community. So we have just this wide array of speakers coming in, of which I believe Mr. Scotty.D.Russell is one of them. Actually, you were the first speaker brought up, the first speaker talked about, and the first speaker booked.
My man, I got something special. I got a brand new one I'm going to be dropping on everyone. So I've been working on it.
As soon as I brought it up, man, 2 or 3 people in our planning meeting was like, well, let's get Scotty. And I was like, done.
Honored.
I think I actually booked you before we asked if you would be booked. I was like, done. I was like, we'll get it. He'll come.
Yeah, Taylor hit me up a long time ago, too, about it. And I'm like, shit, yeah, lock me in.
So we locked in you. We've locked in. And then just, we locked in this phenomenal poet, activist, musician out of California called Propaganda. Number one, that name. Are you kidding me? That's exciting. Keitra Dean Dixon, amazing artist, lettering artist up from New York City. Nick Ramos, who built the Build Hope Not Walls project in direct retaliation to El Presidente Morano, wall idea. We've got Antoinette Carroll, and she is and will continue to just be a hurricane of change, especially in race relations. She's just phenomenal. That woman is filled with nothing but love and compassion. We've got Eric Regan, Focus Lab, just one of the premier design and branding studios in the Southeast. 6, people who are just, you get on stage and you just get people to go, yes, right? And they want to do it. So Thrive, like you're the embodiment of the word. And then just so many other things. Eric has done such amazing talks on failure, and he's been very open. Focus Lab was like skidding to oblivion, and they just like batten down the hatches and have brought it back in this massive way. And Antoinette's changing the world. Propaganda, Keitra's a teacher. Nick has set up this project, as like a political statement. So like all these things in a room for 6 hours. What I want it to be is that I'm hoping it's a bottle of soda that we shake up and just
with like a Mentos and Coca-Cola bottle or something. Erupt that shit. No, I'm stoked for it.
It's a design conference because all of you are in some way design or creative, but it's not, here's how I letter, this thing.
Yeah, I don't like making it about me. Before we get to the last question and rapid fire questions, where could someone, learn more about this if they want to participate or attend?
Absolutely. ThriveConf, ThriveConf.design is our website. It's got all the information. It's got the speakers. We're going to get speaker bios up there probably in the next day or two. We're going to have our blog up there with some interviews. Scotty, I know you did some interview questions with Áine, so we're going to get that stuff up there with you and the other speakers. So ThriveConf.design. You You can also look us up, raleigh.aiga.org, just to see what we're about in general. And February 23rd, man, Friday, February 23rd, it's going to just be a packed day. We're calling it, 6 hours, 6 speakers, 100% inspiration. This fires off at noon. We're going to be done at 6. Well, we're not going to be done. That's when we slide over to the party. But we'll be done with the inspiration at 6, and then we'll get to the libations at 6:30.
And the keg stands and body shots.
Yeah, absolutely. So February 23rd. So we're just a little hair under a month out. Tickets are selling great. We're going to have a fantastic audience. We've got a lot of great sponsors already. We got Jack Prince on board, local companies, Red Hat, Brand Fuel. So, it's great when you put out an idea and other people say, I'll give you money for that. Because that to me is like, it means you're onto something. It means I'm deciding not to have a meal out or to cut back on this for a week or two or to do whatever. I'm going to give that money to you. Right. So that's, to me, is huge.
Awesome. Again, I'm stoked. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. And, for me, I see you as a wise wizard, and you have just tons of wisdom and advice to share with people, especially from your vulnerable side and your experiences that you've been through. What's one piece of advice you'd give to a creative who struggles starting or sticking with it?
It's hard to give one piece because I've had so many pieces, right, that have helped me. But I would say the first thing you should do is reach out to someone you admire. Let them know you've kind of hit a rut. I don't even care if you know them, and just ask if they have and how they get out of it. And
just one person at a time. That's community in itself.
One person at a time. And if you're listening and who that person is, it's me. Like, hit me up, and I can speak for Scotty. Hit Scotty up. He'll get back to you. You just got to reach out to someone and share that you're hurting. This community excels at lifting people up and pulling them up the ladder and over the wall.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Not the shitty wall, the real wall of life.
That's awesome. All right, let's beat shit up and end it on a bang. If you were on death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
Oh, meatball, mushroom, spinach.
You and those magical mushrooms. Script Sarah for sans serif.
Given the choice of one, a good sans will take you further than any of the other ones for me.
What's your favorite typeface? If it was just a project for yourself, not client related, due to a brief and a utility purpose.
I absolutely have used and still in love with a typeface called Robu. It's Robu, by Andre Robu. I could be totally destroying the guy's name.
I know what you're talking about. He's funky.
Dude, the typeface Robu Bold, I use it all over my Hey Monkey brand. It is just like the perfect blend of vintage but contemporary, right? It's not a throwback. I love that typeface.
I think I know this one, but what program would you live in each day if you had a choice?
Procreate.
Oh, okay, I was wrong. I would have guessed Illustrator.
I'm gonna go, man. If you're asking me on the right now, it's
all right.
Procreate.
Yes, this is in this moment of time.
In this moment is Procreate. After that, we're gonna definitely jump back to our Adobe family.
That vector word. All right. What's something new you learned this week?
Oh wow, what's something new I learned this week?
Can even be in Procreate.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go technical, especially since our whole talk has pretty much sort of been about sort of a mental thing. What I've learned this week, I've learned a lot about painting atmosphere, right? Just how light affects landscapes, how light, even if something is completely in the dark, if you look at it long enough, you see a little bit of that ambient light curling around the sides, and learning how to paint that has been one of the biggest jumps in the quality of my work. That is by far what people have been calling out on me when I see the work, like, whoa, the lighting. So that's sort of really where I'm sort of headed now, is I've just been pulling out speed painting books, digital painting books, and just studying atmosphere and lighting.
Awesome. Who's an artist, designer, or creative who's been killing it lately in your eyes?
I'm not going to go lately. I'm going to go with just someone who has inspired me and I've gotten to know recently. There's a local artist right here in Raleigh named Tim Lee. He's just absolutely amazing. His style is something that like I just relate to. It's a kind of funky perspective, like a little off kilter. I bought one of his pieces, an original piece of his, as a divorce present to myself, like a piece of art. And I had the honor of becoming a friend and having an open invite to his studio to just talk shop and everything. So yet again, another example of putting someone on a pedestal and them saying, I don't want to be on the pedestal. Let's just hang out and do stuff together. So I'm going to say Tim Lee. He's a little old school. I mean, he does a lot of digital, but lots of analog, oil, acrylics, woodworking, stuff like that. Just through the roof talent and phenomenal personality.
Well, where can people go to find you online?
I am everywhere at Hey Monkey Design, Instagram, Dribble, Twitter, website, heymonkeydesign.com. Look for a new site and just hit me up anywhere. Say hi. If you need something, ask me. If you need help, I'm here.
Lenny, you are an incredible human being, and I feel so honored and lucky to have gotten you on the show finally a year later.
Brother, the honor is all mine, man. The honor is all mine. It's just to have met you that first year at Creative South, saw you speak the next year, you were absolutely, without a doubt, my wife's favorite speaker that year when you were speaking. Like, she talked about you so much, I almost started not to like you, because I was like, right? I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. He's got the chiseled face and he's sexy and he gives a good talk, but I'm the one that's right here. But we got past that and we're good now. But, you just, blew her away. She's excited to see you when you come down. And it's just, man, it's not only an honor to know you and call you family, but just to see you grow, man. You're just killing it, just crushing it.
Told you, I'm following in your footsteps, man. You're leading the way for me.
Man, I just think we keep switching spots then. So let's just keep, inspiring each other and being there for each other.
Well, I'll have a pineapple vodka ready for you when I get down there, or have one ready for me. How about that?
Dude, better have more than one.
All right, folks. Lenny Terenzi of Hey Monkey Design. Lenny is not only a great friend, but he's a great role model, a great leader in our community. And, he's someone I've been looking up to, trying to follow his footsteps. He's such a strong, positive voice in this community, and I think we need more people like Lenny. So please check him out, check out his work. And if you're at Creative South, please be in attendance at his talk. I know I keep talking about Creative South, but this conference means everything to me. It's what gave me my shot. I would not be where I am today if I did not attend that conference. I've seen so many people attend that place for the first time, get a little taste of the spotlight, and boom, their careers have just blown up. So Creative South is a magical place. Put it on your to-do list. Put it on your bucket list. You will not be disappointed, and I promise you it will change your life with the people you'll meet there. Let's move into the dose of inspiration for this week, and this one goes out to Lex Wilson of Lex Wilson Type on Instagram. I'm not exactly sure where to start with this guy, but if you like experimental lettering, then this is definitely someone you should follow. Mark Canesso was on a couple weeks ago. He has experimental lettering, but Lex has his own unique style and flavor into his work, and he just recently got an Instagram, and his account is already booming. It's hard to describe his mind-bending work, so you'll have to check it out for yourself, and that's at Lex Wilson Type on Instagram. If you're enjoying what you hear and you want to support the growth of this show, I have a few ways you can make that happen. The first way is becoming a Patreon backer at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. Not only can you donate per episode with as little much as a cup of coffee, from Starbucks that you'd have per week, but with your donation, I also try to hook you back up with some rewards. So really, it's a win-win, and it's because of people like you backing the show that I'm able to cover the reoccurring costs, like hosting and everything that goes along with it, and update equipment, and help bring on and hire more people to help me with the show, like Áine for editing. So thank you so much to everybody who's taken the time to support per episode. The second way to support the show is for you crypto heads out there. In the show notes for each episode, I'll have addresses for Bitcoin, Ether, or Litecoin donations if you prefer to go that route. And finally, you can leave a ratings and review over on iTunes. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug like this week's rating and review. And you gotta leave the review part. This one comes from Quarter Letters, and she titled it Great Way to Start My Day. She says, I found this podcast not too long ago when I felt uninspired and unsure of my creative journey. This podcast, to me at least, became a voice that made me keep going and snapped me out of the sinking hole of uncertainty. Super inspiring. You can definitely feel his drive through each episode. Thank you so much. It's people like you taking a small moment out of your existence to give a comment like this. It really fuels the fire. It keeps me going, and it lets me know that this show has a purpose and that I'm on the right path. So thank you to everyone who's left a review so far. And as I wrap things up, I want to give a huge thanks to Áine Brennan, all the way from Ireland, for making this episode sound so good. And a huge thanks goes to Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the dope theme music you hear on this show. Check him out at SoundCloud or on Instagram at Blookah, that's Blookah. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.